All right, the epic Pantheon building of Rome, the most important temple. So there used to be statues up there of all the gods and goddesses. I wonder what happened to those. Maybe they're in the Vatican Museum or something. But this latest rendition of the Pantheon was built by Emperor Hadrian. Hadrian built all kinds of great projects all over the empire, really, including over in England, Hadrian's Wall, and several other places. Algeria, I think, he built a bunch of stuff. Jerusalem. Hadrian was unique as an emperor because he was a big-time traveler. He traveled to every province in the empire, from modern-day Bulgaria to Croatia to Switzerland to France to Egypt, Morocco, Israel, Palestine, Britain, everywhere. So this is a pretty good shot of it right here. So this is the Castle St. Angelo, but that's not its original purpose. This is the grand tomb of the Emperor Hadrian, who was a good emperor for the Roman Empire. Traveled, the only emperor, ooh, there's the Tiber River, by the way, it's right next to it. The only emperor to ever travel to every single province. He went to Britain a lot. He built Hadrian's Wall. He built a bunch of other projects for the empire. He was an interesting guy. Had many lovers, including a young. And anyways, all right. So at 135 AD, it was built. It's Hadrian's tomb. 271 AD, it was incorporated into the Aurelian walls, where the Aurelian walls, I guess, went past the river here, and it's pretty cool. All right, so we're here at the Roman Pantheon, built initially 25 BC, but this is the rebuild. This is the place where the empire's gods and goddesses and cults were worshipped. Very important temple. So let's get into the empire times. Scusa. From locals, respect the locals. All right. So this Pantheon was built 3 times. So this is the latest rendition by Emperor Hadrian. First one was built by Caesar Augustus, actually. The second one was rebuilt by Nero. The third one rebuilt by Hadrian. The many triumphs of the empire were celebrated here, where they gave thanks and praise and prayed to the gods and goddesses for the success of the empire. The Pantheon. Okay. So 191 AD, there was a bad fire. It had Emperor Severus rebuild a lot in the city. The population around the turn of the 3rd century to 200 AD was actually about 1 million people inside Rome, which is crazy. It's a massive city for ancient times. There was a steady stream of immigrants, both slave and free people from all around the world coming here. Around this time, it is said that some emissaries came from the Han Dynasty in China to come here. So Rome was connected to the Silk Road. There was trade going on with India, definitely through Persia. The robes of the emperors were made out of purple silk, which was directly imported from Han Dynasty China. Oh, that's incredible. Without the Silk Road, the emperor would not have his clothes. So silk was more expensive than gold at this time. The empire was really at its heights, we're talking. It starts to get crazy though, and always there's so many stories to talk about. Let's focus on the city though, talking about China. I love Chinese history also. One day maybe I'll travel there when things are good and I can go there, but okay, that's another story. All right, I criminally understated this at the time. So the 5 good emperors were Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, who I just talked a lot about, Antoninus Pius, and lastly, a lot of people's favorite emperor of all time, Marcus Aurelius, the statesman and philosopher of Stoicism, and who did a lot of great things. Here's his statue, and Aurelian column that was built during his time. I failed to mention Marcus Aurelius. A lot of people's favorite all time, and some people say the best emperor of all time. Okay, back to the story. In the early to late 100s, though, a lot of the population of Rome lived in slums. There was overcrowding and squalor. Although the aqueducts and sewage systems worked, keeping things clean, and there was public baths and entertainment all over the place, with the games and, you know, with the gladiatorial games and the chariot races that were free, and free baths and houses of prostitution and all kinds of stuff. There was plenty of things for the Romans to do. And the aqueducts were working with free water, free fresh water. A plague hit the city during the reign of Marcus Aurelius that was disastrous, as well as tons of political turmoil in the crisis of the 3rd century, starting in 235 AD. So the crisis of the 3rd century had all kinds of turnover of emperors and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Man, they probably were praying in the Pantheon, what is happening to Rome? The crisis of the 3rd century was crazy. All kinds of crazy stories that you'll have to look up on your own. No time to tell now. All right, 270 AD, the Aurelian walls were built. Massive walls were built because of this decade of turmoil and lots of threats like German, Persian, Gaelic people, the usurping different empires that broke off, like in North Africa. Another one did in Britain and France called the Gaelic Empire. They had their own emperor for a while. Parthia was trying to break away, and that's in modern day Syria. There's all kinds of different problems happening. So especially made nervous was the Germans. The Germanic tribes, the Romans really didn't like them, and they were always threatening from the north in their massive warrior armies with men and women. So Emperor Aurelian built the Aurelian walls, and he tried to restore the city. This out, 271 AD, Aurelian walls, Rome. I
don't even know what that's from.
Rome. My dad used to just do that all the time. I don't know why.
From that show you.
It's from some movie, I think, like Spartacus, like the old Spartacus movie or something.
The old Spartacus.
Rome. This is crazy looking. It's just like chilling here, and there's a field. It's just nobody's paying it no mind. Look, it's stretches all the way over there.
Right there.
Yeah, stones are just scattered about. Old streetcars are running around.
There's sticker bushes.
Look how tall it is. You know, it kind of looks like it was fixed up a little bit right here. Maybe to make it safe so people can walk under it. Then it goes over there more, and it's right here, and it's just, whoa. Incredible.
There is an opening, but...
What is that thing? Let's get into the late Empire, when, give or take, about 100 or so years, the city of Rome falls in the Western Empire. But before that happened, they built this to try to stop invasions. 271 AD, Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Going off memory here, not doing any reading, but this is the largest gate of the Aurelian Wall. So one of the main roads into Rome is right down there. It's still a road right now, and to get into the central city, you had to go through this. And up there, it had all kinds of, probably, look, it says Pontifex Maximus. That means the high priest, and a bunch of other stuff. Probably propaganda to freak you out. Don't mess around when you get in here. We'll kill you. I don't know, stuff like that. Cool, religious stuff. Cool, man. Aurelian Wall, 271 AD. Modern city. This is ancient stuff. Looks like that was built a little later. Streetcar rolling through this crazy old gate. There's Vanessa! It's an old looking streetcar too, man. That's like from the 70s. Woo! Man, that looks so crazy cool. Look at the size of that thing. The gates over there. It's massive. And then comes Diocletian. So Diocletian was from modern day Croatia, Split area, where I've been last year. He did a massive undertaking to restore the empire, reorganizing everything. They had something called dioceses that were made good, that governed different parts of the empire. And the Catholic Church still uses the word diocese to this day to separate the different parts of the church all over the world. So Diocletian had a part in that, emperor, and he did a lot of things for the empire, and he did not like Rome. So Rome was in the late 200s was filled with backstabbers, lots of garbage and pollution, lots of debauchery going on, prostitution was all around everywhere. The emperor didn't even like being in his own capital, Diocletian. So he actually spent the most time in the east, places like Croatia, modern day Croatia, Bulgaria, Constantinople, modern day Turkey, Greece, stuff like that, Egypt. He rarely came to the capital. One of the strange thing for an emperor who most stayed in the capital their whole reign, but not all the time. Like Hadrian, who built this, he visited famously every province in the whole, from Britain to Syria to Palestine to Morocco to Egypt, Switzerland. Hadrian visited them all. That's incredible. All right, back to Diocletian. So actually, when he traveled to Rome one time, he got really deathly sick, almost. Come on. All right. All the gains, though, from Diocletian's reorganizing, he split the empire into two, kind of with two co-leaders, East and West. Even though it was good empire altogether, wasn't officially split. But as soon as he retired to his palace in Split, Croatia, which is still there to this actually beautiful palace, Splatinum it was called. It's in Croatia, the home of Diocletian. This whole era ushered in the split of the East and West empires, and it's a super long story I'm not going to get into. So this division had different leadership. In Constantinople, now known as Istanbul, was then called Byzantium, and the other one was here in Rome. So at this time it was becoming more popular and stable to have the empire split into two. It was just too big to manage, man. It was causing all kinds of problems. All right, next we're going to get into probably the last great emperor, Constantine the Great. And we're here at the Pantheon, which is turned into a church now. The old gods and goddesses were once worshipped. Inside, of course, is a church. And who do we have to thank for that? Constantine the Great. But it's all good. All right, let's go. Here we are at the Arch of Constantine the Great. So let's get into his part of the empire, which changed the Roman Empire and all of Western civilization and world history. So this gate was built here in 315 AD by Constantine, depicting his glorious victory and reuniting the empire after all this civil strife right near the Colosseum back there. All right, Constantine is really important, probably the last great emperor. Constantine the Great defeated an army in a civil war. His base was in the Eastern Empire, Constantinople, now Istanbul. On the Tiber River, there was a massive battle on the Milvian Bridge. He was the last great unifier of Rome. He famously, during the battle, right before, saw his mother was Christian, by the way, and always told him to take it easy on the Christians. And she believed in it, and he kind of was like, I don't know, it'll lose credibility for me. But this was the moment that changed. So during battle, Constantine looked up at the sky into the sun and saw a cross in the sky, emblazoned with the words in Latin saying, something like, if you follow and have faith in me, you will become victorious. So he had all his soldiers paint a cross on their shields, and they battled it out on the Tiber River, and they won. that's why this was built. So he at that moment, God told him he would have victory, and even though he probably believed in pagan stuff a little bit, he gave validity to Christianity too. He then allowed Christianity in the empire for the first time ever. It was illegal, often by death, a lot of the time. So before this, the 300s, Christianity entered the city in the first years after Jesus' death, in the 40s, 50s, 60s AD. Though it was thought of as a mockery and because they refused to take part in emperor worship. Excuse me. Peter, the apostle, arrived in Naples first, Neapolis at the time, and then came up to Rome, becoming the city's first bishop in these underground churches they used to have. Every pope after him carries on this tradition. Christian worship in Rome was forced underground, especially during the purges of Nero in the 600s. I'm mixing up all these dates, sorry. 60s AD, and then Diocletian in the early 200s AD. But after this, Constantine, his arch right here, after his revelation, he built 7 churches in the city, embracing Christianity. But the city overall still remained pagan. Many pagan and Christian holidays coincided. Christians even participated still in many pagan festivals, like one where men got naked and ran around the city whipping women. It was a festival that these had. What? I think the women were naked too? For fun? I don't know. Alright, so 380 though, after this, in the Council of Nicaea, Christianity became the official state religion. But in the empire, though, at least the West was in its death throes. So that's the story of Constantine at his magnificent art. Now we go into the end of the Western Empire, changes of Rome. Here's Emperor Constantine looking up in the sky before the famous battle at the Milvian Bridge on the Tiber River in Rome, seeing the cross in the sky. This is some artwork in the Vatican Museum depicting this famous moment. Let's check it out. Here it looks like Constantine the Great seeing the vision of the cross in the sky before the battle on the Minerva Bridge, the Tiber River, the first Catholic emperor. Some other stuff is going on up here. Over here looks like some other, oh no, maybe that's Constantine in battle. Yes, okay, there's the Tiber River. That's what I'm thinking that is. Yes, there it is. Constantini, it says. I guess it right. There's some later popes doing some blessing of people. What a room. Oh boy, crazy. Victory of Christian birth over pagan. One more time, these are incredible. Most famous works ever by artist Raphael, early 1500s. The Pope had him commission the Battle of Constantine the Great here, who was inspired by the cross seen in the sky to victory. And this scene, not sure exactly what happened. She got her nipples out. Some other battle scene here, the crazy ceiling with God and angels and guys in beards, people fighting in medieval times in the court of heaven. Looks like some other stuff going on up there. This place is crazy. Oh, more! Oh, there was this vision in the sky by this emperor who built this, Constantine, that is the primary reason for a small subculture of people called the Christians, where there were really low numbers. This is the primary reason that this religion swept through time and history and dominated Europe and the Americas and all over the world. The Pope has so much power, and all the different Christian sects, Eastern Orthodoxy, Greek Orthodox, and the Protestant Reformation, and all these things that happen. The Church of England, there's probably like 800,000 churches of all denominations in the world, something insane. 1.2 billion Catholics alone, and then you add in the rest of the Christian sects, it's probably another billion. All of that, and all this faith of all these people, which I'm not discrediting at all, but the origin of this, first is the crucifixion of Jesus, yes, but the second most important part that most people don't know is the guy who built this had a vision in the sky of a cross before battle and allowed Christianity to be legal. Probably more important than Jesus himself. That's the reason why everybody knows about it. True. Okay, let's appreciate some of the Vatican Museum they put together. You know, despite all that scandal and all that stuff we were talking about, so this is just a massive collection of Roman art plus tons of more stuff. This is just a cool little outdoor area. You know, it's especially cool. Mask on, by the way, so you'll be ID inside the museum. That's why I'm wearing it, all right? So this is just a tiny fraction of what they have here. These are just tons of stuff from the Republican era of Rome, sarcophaguses, and I like these dogs over here. So they have stuff from ancient Middle East, Samaria, Babylonians, Egyptians, Etruscans, Greeks. This was attacked by snakes, all kinds of cool stuff. So the Vatican really did a good job putting this. One from around 178. Look at the intricate artwork, battles going on and everything. And, you know, we were just in this other room with all these emperors and stuff. Super famous, just antiquity art. You just really see how things were, after the fall of the Western Empire, just kind of got lost. Artists didn't figure out how to do this realism kind of stuff for nearly 1,000 years after the fall of the Western Empire. Different scenes like this, all kinds of symbolism and intricate design. Ooh, the Vatican Museum is pretty impressive. Picture of Octavius, I think. Octavian Augustus Caesar. Mithridates. There's just so much symbolism in this. It's so important to these. Oh, the eagle of Rome drinking what looks like water from. That's a major symbolism right there. That's the symbol of Rome. Pretty awesome. More insane, incredible collections. These ones make more sense because we're in Rome. These are all Roman period sarcophaguses and statues, Greek and Roman things. Whoa, that's dope. Perseus with the head of Medusa. Oh, crazy. Yes. Oh, man. Well, you know what? Thank you, Vatican, for preserving all this stuff. They put this together in like late 1700s, and it's really awesome, actually. So this one didn't have to travel too far to get here. I appreciate that a little bit more than stuff from long, far away. This is actual Roman stuff. This place is crazy. like super famous artworks I've seen and studied about and seen pictures of and heard about. This is like the real deal. This represents Egypt. The Egyptian Sphinx is on there with a bunch of different stuff going on. It was founded in 1513, dedicated to the Egyptian Isis and Serapis. Whoa, cool. Ancient. All this stuff, man. It's like in pristine condition. It's crazy. Wounded Amazon. Ooh, the Amazonian women warriors. They're ferocious. That guy, this is Emperor Trajan. Hey, I recognize that face. Some guy, poet of tragedies. Emperor Popenius. He must have not been a good emperor. Don't recognize him.